I believe that cultivating a strong, limitless relationship is just like tending to a garden. Now, hear me out, y'all. In the beginning, you and your lover are going to have all of this excitement and hope. Your imagination is going to be running wild with everything that's going to grow. But you and I both know that seeds alone do not guarantee growth. Nah. You still got to have the right environment, some patience, attention to detail, and above all else, you're going to need time. Now, I'm realizing that out here online and in the real world, real ones are looking for a blueprint on how to cultivate the relationships that I'm talking about. And I'm going to believe I found a way to do so. And I always try to teach y'all things in the form of parables and analogies. That way, you have something practical to digest. Because not everybody cares about what's going on in the blogs or the news cycle. Yeah, nobody really truly can get tangible information from the latest celebrity breakup. No, we got things in our individual lives that we need to address. We have examples in our individual lives that we see but take for granted that I want to start waking up. So I found components of these healthy, limitless relationships that I feel like you all could truly understand by comparing it to tending to a garden. And I compiled this list based on what I feel would be the most important or what you would be likely to encounter along the way. So starting out with number one, we got to say that trust has got to be the soil of your relationship. Why? Because without trust, the entire relationship becomes unstable and unhealthy. So make sure that when you're laying the foundation for your garden, that it's got the right soil. You're going to need water. So communication is going to serve as that water, because your problems can't be solved, nor can your needs be met without understanding how to do so. So make sure you have the proper communication, because if you don't have the proper communication, first of all, if it's too little communication, then your connection is just going to dry out. But if it's too much without the proper care, then it's going to drown out the roots. And what could the roots be if we're talking about relationships being similar to gardening? Roots would be the loyalty that you exhibit. Yeah, that loyalty that you exhibit creates the security and long-term stability that we're all searching for. As a matter of fact, I would argue that that's the reason why you would get into a relationship, is to be loyal to somebody. If you don't want to be loyal to someone else, why develop the relationship? You got to put in the right amount of effort, because mutual respect is going to be required. Because that mutual respect is going to help balance out the ecosystem that you're cultivating. It's going to prevent control issues or contempt for one another. Some people go into relationships with emotional damage. Mutual respect will help resolve that emotional damage that somebody else may have created. No one should go into another situation paying for somebody else's mistakes. I'm not them. So make sure you put in effort in and out of relationships. Yeah, that gardening work, you should already be doing that in your own personal garden before you go and build a new one with someone else. Relationships decline when maintenance stops. Let me say that again. Relationships decline when maintenance stops. So make sure that when you're doing that maintenance, it's the right effort. Because while you're gardening, you're going to realize that other things can take root. And those things that take root can take root in many different forms. Those weeds will appear, and they're going to appear in the form of resentment. Sometimes it'll be in the form of neglect, even pride. Misunderstandings occur all the time, and ignoring them does not make them disappear. No, as a matter of fact, they help them spread quietly until ultimately it chokes out what you want it to be healthy. That's why relationships require maintenance that's not rooted in emotional damage. It's rooted in that mutual respect that I mentioned earlier. You got to make sure you're setting boundaries too, y'all. Those boundaries could resemble garden fences because they help protect your relationship from harmful outside influences. There are going to be people that ain't rocking with you, even if they say they're rocking with you. In-laws and friends included. So while you're out here doing what you do, make sure that you have a healthy form of conflict resolution skills. That's going to help you pull up those weeds that I mentioned that are trying to get to your deep roots. Those weeds will affect your loyalty. So make sure both of you have some form of healthy conflict resolution skills. It helps prevent all of those small issues from spreading and causing major damage. Catastrophic damage at that. Now, yes, you will be doing work together, but you need to make sure that that work is fun. And it's not about the quantity of the work. It's about the quality of the time spent doing it. Because that regular care and maintenance needs to be quality over quantity. It's going to help strengthen an emotional connection and stability that you all are craving and want to make sure is at a healthy level at all times. Now, I mentioned pulling out those weeds, but you're also going to need to prune some of those dead branches. Yeah, that dead weight is causing you all not to grow. Like Erykah Badu said, bag lady, you gonna hurt your back? Dragging all them bags like that? Well, how does the bag lady get rid of all of those bags? She got to forgive. See, when you practice forgiveness, it helps remove all of that lingering hurt that's causing you not to be healthy. Now, I didn't say forgive everything. No. Let me make a distinction on what you should be forgiving. You need to forgive people's honest mistakes, not their decisions. There's a major difference. Adults make decisions all the time that they want forgiveness for, and I don't ever think that you should forgive somebody's conscious decision for whatever they decided to do. Now, people make mistakes, and if you know their true character and their intent behind it, you can determine whether or not you want to forgive. But conscious decisions deserve to be analyzed properly and accepted thoroughly. You need to radically accept somebody's conscious decision on what they decide to do to and within your life. When somebody shows you who they are, it's very important to believe them, correct? Because if you don't believe them, you're going to end up hurt. Mentally, spiritually, emotionally, even financially in some cases. So what I'm trying to prevent is you forgiving something and letting somebody off the hook when they don't deserve it. Yeah, sometimes forgiveness, it can do more for the other person than it ever does for the person that's providing the forgiveness. So make sure that you understand the difference between a mistake and a decision. So therefore, when you're pulling up those weeds and pruning those dead branches, you're not cutting something that was healthy. You're going to need emotional support when you're doing these things. So I would say that emotional support would be like fertilizer. Because yeah, we all come with soil that we think would be great and healthy, but sometimes that soil is going to need more nutrients. And emotional support is going to be the nutrients that you'll need in your healthy, limitless relationship. Yeah, that emotional support will help each of you grow stronger, not just individually, but together. Because sometimes gardens face droughts. And drought could come in the form of neglect in your relationship. Yeah, it's not fun when that drought creates that emotional distance and it causes you both to be in this state of just, I want to say that it almost makes you all go to your corner and not want to actually fix what's broken. It causes your relationship to deteriorate in ways that you could never imagine. That neglect can lead to some very invasive weeds, y'all. Those type that are close to the roots, the ones that slowly damage that trust I mentioned and causes your connection to ultimately be ignored. Yeah, those type of invasive weeds, are going to come in the form of resentment and jealousy, like I mentioned earlier. Yeah, you start to resent each other. And instead of you doing it because you truly love somebody, it feels like an obligation. These life challenges are going to feel like harsh seasons while you're out here cultivating. And these harsh seasons are there to test the durability of what you planted. Yeah, you got to be able to adapt. If you don't show that you have the right level of adaptability, you're going to get ran over because seasons will change. There's going to be periods of harvest that are going to bring joy and closeness in the relationship, while there's going to be times where things are going to get very difficult and cold. A lot of uncertainty could be sowed in those times. You got to make sure that your strong, healthy, limitless relationship survives by making sure that both people are putting in the right amount of effort. Because those life challenges are ultimately going to determine how you all grow together. And that growth is going to produce some beautiful blooming flowers and an incredible harvest. Those are going to be the visible signs of how healthy and thriving your partnership is. So make sure that you're cultivating your commitment for the long term, not just the short term. And choose somebody that's doing that with you. Because when you choose to cultivate it that way, it's going to help you invest when times get difficult. And if you decide that you don't want to invest, well, then there's a process to uprooting everything that you planted. Yeah, sometimes strong, healthy, limitless relationships can face moments where they're at their limit, unfortunately. Breakups happen. Those painful separations create those emotional moments that could damage not only what you all had planted, but ultimately what you feel like you formed that could withstand the rain. But you got to understand how to heal after that conflict. And I believe healing comes in the form of replanting and restoring the soil whenever you're cultivating gardens. You got to rebuild that trust somehow, some way. And you got to start by trusting yourself, forgiving yourself for any mistake or decision you may have made that led to the uprooting of what you were planting. Then once you do that, once you figure out exactly what it was that caused you to have to go through that breakup, you can enter into a new phase of developing a brand new plan. So therefore, when you go cultivate a garden with somebody else, you'll start with mutual respect for one another. Why? Because that mutual respect ultimately helps balance the ecosystem that we want in order to cultivate a strong, healthy relationship. Yeah. Those components will definitely help you build that relationship I'm talking about. Shout out to Agape Love. Peace, real ones.
Thank you for watching this completely unbiased and wildly chaotic video featuring Grand Theft Auto 5 Online. The following content may have included reckless driving, criminal behavior, bad decisions, loud explosions, and the digital destruction of property. During this video, I may have also talked about pop culture, internet nonsense, celebrities, movies, games, and people in the chat. Any jokes, sarcasm, exaggerations, or insults directed at public figures, fictional characters, corporations, trends, or anything else are clearly comedic commentary and opinion, and are not statements of fact nor representations of my real-life views or beliefs. This video was for entertainment and educational purposes only. Everything shown happens inside a video game, where the laws of physics, morality, and traffic safety are optional. No real crimes were committed in the making of this video. No real people were harmed. No real allegations were being made about anyone living or dead. In fact, if it sounds ridiculous, then guess what? You guessed it! It probably is. If you are easily offended, allergic to sarcasm, or have a hard time placing your personal biases aside, then feel free to never come back to another video. I'm just being unbiased, y'all. Viewer and listener discretion is always advised.